So you've got to know what a lion's footprint looks like as opposed to a leopard footprint, as opposed to a rhino or an elephant or a buffalo, and they all look very different, and then you learn them when you first start, and that's how you're able to kind of work out what's going on. But from memory is how I know which ones look like which. Now this little lioness that we see here is an interesting one. She is a lion where she's been unfortunately fighting with other lions, and so she's been chased away out of her pride and is now trying to move around and probably trying to find her pride again and trying to find the rest of her pride, and she's a little bit lost at the moment, unfortunately. So she looks a bit scruffy, but she'll get better as long as she can find food. But it's going to be very difficult for her because at the end of the day, she's going to have to come across a lot of other lions, hyenas, and they're all going to give her a hard time. And that's maybe why she's got so many cuts and scrapes. So it's going to be very difficult for her to survive by herself. She needs to find her pride very quickly in order to actually survive and to be a part, well, to kind of keep going in life. So it's an interesting kind of thing. The thing is, though, is that she's not too skinny. She, could do with a bit of food, but she's definitely not skinny that we have to worry about her just yet. Now, Aubrey, you're asking what kind of cat species do we get here? Well, of the big cats, we get the three big cats are lions, leopard, and cheetah. So those are the three big ones that we get. And then in the small cats, we get wildcat, caracal, and serval. So there's 6 cats in total that we see here in this particular area. And they all compete with each other. Even though the smaller cats and the lions are completely different in the way that they do things, lions will often try and chase away the smaller cats and even hunt them for food from time to time. So it's kind of interesting how they all fit in together, but yes, 6 different species of cats in this particular area. And like I said, there's big cats, which are part of what's called the Panthera, and then there's the normal cats, which are part of Felidae. Now, the difference between those two is that these big cats have a cartilage in their throat that is fused basically and stops them from being able to purr, and that's what separates them from being a big cat to the smaller cats that you see. And it's why cheetah are part of the big cats. Well, actually are not part of the big cats, sorry, they're part of the Felidae family, and even though they are very large, they are not actually part of the Panthera family that we see lion and leopard part of. But nice to see this little lioness. I haven't seen this lioness in a very, very long time. Like I say, she doesn't come from this area, and I used to work in an area where she does come from. And the last time I saw her, she was a tiny little cub. It was very, very small. And so now is the time to kind of be moved on. And I'm pretty sure it's trying to find its pride. That's why it's moving so much. This morning, this lion was actually seen. I spoke to a friend of mine who works near us and quite far from where we are actually at the moment. And they said they saw this lioness probably, I would say, in miles, maybe about 10 miles away. So this lioness has moved over 10 miles during the course of the day in the hot African sun trying to find her pride. And she won't sit for very long because she's trying to constantly look for everybody, and she knows that she's very uncomfortable in this area, that it's very difficult for her to survive. Willow, you're asking how we detect the animals so easily. Well, it's not always easy to detect these animals. This particular lion I know very well because, well, it's been moving around on its own for the last few days, and we know that it comes from a certain pride. And with all the scars on it, it makes it much easier for me to be able to tell that it is that lion. Also, the age of this lioness by herself, she would normally be with a pride. She's still a young, almost cub-like animal, and so it's easy to tell that it's her. But when they get a little bit older and they're in prides, then normally the numbers of animals in a pride and how many cubs they've got, that all can tell you which pride it type of spot, much like your fingerprints. If you all look at your fingerprints, you've got little lines on your fingers, and if you all go look at each other's, you'll see that the lines don't match. And it's the same with the spots of a leopard, is that they all have different spots, and you can use their spots to kind of tell the difference. And in other animals like elephants and those kind of things, you use any tears in the ears, also how Hunter, you're asking how many lions I've seen around this area. Well, Hunter, in the many years that I've spent in this part of the world, I would have to tell you, I can't even tell you actually how many it is, but I can probably say easily close to 150 lions in the last few years that I've been here. But currently now, if we had to drive around and we had to find all the lions that we get here, we would probably have, I need to think, probably close to about 50 lions in total with all the lions that we get in this kind of section. So there's about that many, and they move a lot. They follow buffalo, which which is their main animal that they like to hunt, and they move in and out and go around. So they do kind of have a lot of movement, and we don't always have 50 in this place at the same time. Some will come in, some will go out, and it will change a little bit. Right, now while we watch our little lioness try and cope with the heat by panting, let's send you across to Brent, who I'm sure is coping with the heat by trying to look for a leopard. Well, Brenty, our lion is not lazy. It's busy watching around. I'm pretty sure it's a hungry lion, and it is hoping that there's going to be something that's going to come for a drink of water at the pan that it can maybe hunt. Now, Caden, you're asking how I can tell it's the same animal since since I last saw it was a cub. Well, there's two reasons. One is I know the rough age of this animal, and I know that it comes from a certain pride. And so if I just work back the time, I know that I saw cubs from that pride and from that female, and I know that she hasn't had any other cubs, or that pride hasn't had any other cubs besides these ones to fit in this time frame that we're in. So that's the easiest way, is that I know that 15 months ago, there was a lioness that had cubs from the Tsalala Pride, and this is about the right age for this little one that we see here. So that's roughly how, but we could also use the pattern around the whisker area. So just above her, between her nose and her whiskers over there, you see there's lots of little dots that go along where the whiskers are coming out. Now that will be different on every single lion. So if you know those little patterns over there, then you can work out exactly which lion it is, and you can count those whiskers, and then any other markings like little nicks in the ears or anything like that would tell us. But like I say, I don't know exactly which one of the cubs. I just know that I saw all the cubs that she had, and so it's one of those cubs that we're seeing here. But shame, she's a very hot girl at the moment, lots of panting as well. So Kyra, no, this lioness is too young to have cubs. They only normally start having cubs when they reach around 3.5 to 4 years old. That's generally when they start to have cubs. And so this one is still got about 2.5, 3 years to go before it's able to actually have little ones of its own. So it's just lost. It's trying to find its mom and trying to find the pride that it's in. Now, the reason why it's lost is we don't actually know. I think it might be something to do with there's new males that have headed into the area where her pride is, and so those are the males that we normally see here, but they are new to that area, and that means that the males will often try and attack the cubs because they want to bring the mommy into heat again to be able to mate with her. And so we've got a situation where maybe that's what's happened, is the males have actually chased this little cub. That's maybe why she's got some bad scars, and then she's kind of come into this area, and she's probably going to try and see if she can get back towards where her pride is and hopefully rejoin them. But it's not easy for a young lion like this. If she makes it, it's going to be a really, really rare situation. I don't know if she's going to have the strength to do it. She probably doesn't really know how to hunt very well just yet. But cats are amazing creatures because they'll do anything they can to stay alive. And so she'll feed off things like frogs, in being International Frog Day. She should hopefully stay away from the frogs, but she'll feed off frogs, a thing called a terrapin, which is like a freshwater turtle, lizards, scrub hares, which is like a little rabbit. So lots of different small things, even birds, to try and just keep her going. And she'll scavenge. So she'll try and find little bits of meat that maybe have been left over by another lion or by hyenas or leopards somewhere around there. Now, while I watch her and see what she gets up to, it seems as though she might have spotted something and is very interested in something across the water. So while I watch where she goes, let's send you across to Taylor, who has got something that is using its camouflage and is very similar to this cat. She is. I think she's in a situation where she's hoping for some sort of a meal to come past and through the trees and just down to this waterhole that she can maybe try and hunt. But she's a little young for that. I don't think she's going to get it right, unfortunately, but we'll see. You never know. So Lexi was very dependent, but on average in this area, normally 3 to 4 cubs is how many a lioness will have, but they can have less. Sometimes we just see a lioness having just the one, and sometimes you can see them having up to even 8, but I've never seen 8 personally. The most I've seen is 7 little cubs with a lioness, which is a lot of mouths to feed, and it takes a big toll on a lioness because she has to provide milk for that many, and it makes life very, very difficult. But normally we see 4. That's the kind of average. 3 to 4 is the average that we see in this area. So Sam, no, there's no such thing as mating season for the big cats. The big cats will mate any time of the year. You'll find that as long as a female comes into estrus and is able to mate, then the male will find her and try. Now, it doesn't matter if that's summer, winter, autumn, or spring, and the reason why that is because big cats eat meat, and there's always meat around, so they don't have to kind of time their young ones roughly in the season where there's going to be more. They generally have their cubs at any single time, and they can normally provide enough food for them and be able to actually feed them and raise them. Doesn't matter if it's at any time of the year. Also, the cats look after their young for very long periods of time. You'll have a situation where lions will look after their young ones. If it's a female, she'll be absorbed into the pride, but even males, the mother is looking after them until they're around 3 years old, and then they start to hunt for themselves and form part of the pride. But up until then, it's a situation where they're pretty dependent. So long time on their mother means that they will mate any time, because if they had to wait for a season, then they're going to have less cubs throughout their life. And any animal out here is designed to try and have as many offspring as possible. Shame. She's looking around hoping that something's going to appear. Aiden, well, it's difficult with big cats because they are opportunistic, particularly an animal like this. It's going to try and find food at any opportunity it can, but they generally try and hunt in the darker periods of the day, so just after sunset and just before sunrise, and a little bit through the night, depending on what's around. So another pride of lions that was in this area last night, they were chasing buffalo around during the course of the night, and that's when their kind of peak activity is, so from sort of sunset to sunrise. But I also have seen lions hunting in the middle of the day at 12 o'clock in bright sunlight, going after things. And in fact, this little lioness actually caught a terrapin today, so a type of turtle. She caught one in one of these pans a little bit earlier in the day and had a snack on that. It wouldn't have been enough nutrients to fill her, but at least she found something in that regard. So they can be quite active during the day as well, but generally their hunting is around sunset, sunrise, sort of hours and into the darkness beyond. So it's an interesting kind of thing that they spend a lot of time. They're better designed for nocturnal hunting than they are for diurnal. The animals that are active during the day have very good eyesight, good hearing, good sense of smell, and so during the day is easier for them. When it gets dark, the cats have much better senses, and it becomes much easier for them to try and hunt certain individuals. So that's why they try and spend more time at night moving around. Right, now Taylor has managed to find a leopard. We have got this young lioness, and, well, Brent, who was supposed to be the one to find the leopard first, is still driving around, apparently covering a lot of distance. Well, our lioness got up a little bit, and she walked not far, maybe about 20 meters, and then decided to lie down again. And shame, she's looking on the skinny side and really does need a good meal and mom, I think, to look after her. Caden, you're asking if lions or leopards can be born with defects, such as birth defects, such as something like autism. Well, they can be born with defects in that they might have something wrong with a leg or a spine, and maybe there are lions that do have mental conditions, but it's difficult to say, because generally any animal that is born with some sort of a defect like that inhibits its ability to move or to keep up or to try and kind of find food for itself generally doesn't last very long out here, unfortunately. So you have a situation with any animal, even this lioness. This is a perfectly healthy lioness prior to her leaving the pride, but it's very difficult for her to survive because of the number of other predators out here. So things like hyenas, other lions, leopard, wild dogs, they all cause a lot of danger for animals. And so anything that's born with some sort of a defect often, unfortunately, doesn't make it very far past the first few weeks and unfortunately dies and gets caught by something. But, I mean, I've never seen a situation where I've seen any sign of autism or anything like that within a lion or a leopard that is born in these areas. Maybe it does happen, but I don't think so. I don't think autism is prevalent in cats at all. And like I say, most of the issues that we have within cats and things like that would be more physical deformities in the event of maybe something like spinal kind of deformity or something on the legs or something like that. And it's normally brought about by inbreeding. It's not actually something that is brought about kind of in a wild population that has good genetics. You very seldom see anything with lions where there's deformities unless they've been bred pretty much interbred with their own family for a number of generations. Then you might start to see things like that happen, but it's not something we see every day at all. And there's some diseases and some things that happen to people that won't happen to animals at all, and you'll have a situation where some animals will suffer from things that we don't suffer from. So something like foot and mouth, for example, we don't get it, but some of the animals will get it. Now, Mackenzie, you're asking if some of the animals are endangered that are here. Yes, there are quite a number of endangered animals. There's one of the most endangered animals that we have is another type of predator, which is called the wild dog. And the wild dogs are very cool animals, and I'm sure Brent would love to find some wild dogs this afternoon because that's his absolute favorite animal, and they're really, really cool. So in terms of endangered animals, wild dogs, cheetah, lions are starting to become a bit of an endangered species. We're seeing a situation where a lot of lions, unfortunately, are being missed and being moved and being killed and being hunted in places where they shouldn't, and so their numbers are declining. We've got animals here that's like the pangolin, which is one of the most endangered animals in the world and one of the most trafficked animals in the world, which basically means that people are illegally hunting them and sending them overseas, and so they are also under huge threats. And there's a number of others in the bird and insect world as well. But unfortunately, it's that time of the day where we need to say goodbye to all of you. I hope that you guys had a wonderful time with us during the course of this 45 minutes and that you are going to have a great day further at school. And I hope that you don't get too much homework and that you... I don't know if she's starting to wake up and that she's been pretty much awake the entire time we've been here. So she's not been really sleepy at any point while we've been sitting with her. So she's kind of very alert, and I feel sorry for this little one. It must be so confusing and so difficult for this little one to try and survive. I know she was seen a few days ago, it must have been about 3-4 days ago, somewhere near Londolosi's northern boundary. And then this morning, she was seen at Simambili Lodge, which gives you an idea of just how far she's walked during the course of today. So she's had having a tough time of it. It's not easy for her. I know there's a lot of confusion as to which lioness this is or where she's from. And I know a lot of people are saying that it is a Styx individual. This is not a Styx lion. The Styx of this size are both males. This is a female, so it's a lioness, which means that she comes from the Tsalala Pride. Now, there's also a Mangen lioness that was split up and was hurt by a buffalo, but she has a massive gash under her chin and around her throat, which has got a big sort of bloody area there. So it's not her. It's from the sort of photos that we've sent out and what I've seen, it is a young Tsalala lioness. And I think, in all likelihood, she was split from the Pride when the Birminghams went into that area. The Birminghams have been spending a lot of time down in the south. In fact, I believe Brent was telling me that they are all the way down on Mkombi, which is very close to Lion Sands, which is the southern parts of the Sabi Sands, all 4 of them. So they are miles away. And maybe they came across the Tsalala Pride, saw the females, and they've unfortunately split these cubs away. And this little one is now trying to probably get back into that area. And so she's wandering in areas that she doesn't know. The Tsalalas, since they've had these cubs, haven't been up this way. So she's just probably trying to just walk and stay out of the way of everybody. But she's definitely had a bit of a mauling from something. I suspect, given the number of cuts and scars on her, that she's been mauled by probably hyenas at some point, because she literally has bite marks from her front paws all the way down her body to her back legs. So seems as though she got caught by something, and the only thing that really does that to lions, other than other lions, which in all likelihood she would have been dead, is hyenas. So she might have got attacked by hyenas at some point. The scars have healed though, which is interesting, and she's trying to looks like she's coming into a bit of better condition. And actually, the photo that I saw of her 3-4 days ago, she looked worse than she does now. She actually looks as though she's picked up a bit of weight. So maybe she found something in some way. Now, Inferno, are you wondering if she was licking a wound somewhere on her front leg there? I can't see nicely, but I think so. I think that her front left leg does have a wound. You see there's a little kind of bump on it. So I think the front left has a little wound on the back side, and that's maybe what she was busy grooming off. But look at the number of scars. You can see there's just bites and puncture wounds and scrapes and cuts everywhere. So this poor girl has really had it tough, and if she survives this, it'll be quite an incredible story. The thing is, though, is that if she can't find her pride, the chances of her surviving is very, very slim. At the end of the day, this is a young lioness. She doesn't know how to hunt yet. She's younger than our Nkuhuma sub-adults that we see, and so life is going to be very, very tough. But you can see she still is quite skinny. She's quite thin, and maybe she can rely on things like terrapins. We know that Hosana managed and Shongile, and this lioness is actually bigger than both of them, so maybe it will be able to survive with those kind of things, but it won't know the technique. It won't have been taught how to hunt very well just yet, and so life is going to be quite tough, but I'm hoping it manages to track its way back down to the Tsalala Pride. So Simon, you're asking what techniques lions do use to hunt. Well, generally they're in a pride, so that makes life a lot easier. You can see she's a lioness that's grown up around cars, though, because there she's going to walk right underneath the back of the car and below the tire. So we'll try and keep up with her. She's just going to wait for her to go past. But in terms of hunting, you'll have a situation where you'll have her kind of, normally they'll use others and they'll try and chase towards each other. They obviously do ambush hunting when they're on their own and as young individuals. And so we'll have a situation where they kind of try and get themselves into a place much like a leopard would and stalk and wait for a leopard for an animal to come closer and then pounce on it. Good. Now she is moving. She's going southwards, so I think she's heading off down towards sort of Twin Dam side. So we'll keep following her. While we do that, let's send you over to Taylor, who must be bouncing like a little bouncy ball, given that Kuchava has been contact calling, and maybe that little cub is going to come out. Well, our lion is still moving down the road, so I'm trying to just kind of reverse in front of her and give her quite a bit of space while I do it. So she's slowly but surely kind of walking towards us, but I believe Taylor needs a link, and so that can only be exciting news, so let's quickly send you across there. It seems as though absolute chaos is going on Taylor's side of the world, and hopefully Kuchava and that little cub made a hasty retreat before anything untoward happened, and hopefully the stick's attention was so busy on the diker that they didn't worry about her and the little one. Our lion was also kind of just milling around at the moment, looking. It kind of went into a bush and it was looking in under the bush, sniffing around, and now she's just sitting kind of panting on the bank of the Mulawati River. Now, she might go down into the Mulawati. If she does, we're going to lose her pretty quickly because, unfortunately, where she's going to go down is Gremlin Central, so it's not going to be ideal. So I'm hoping she turns back towards the road and comes our way. So Ashlyn, no, I don't think another pride would accept this little one, unfortunately. Even though she's so young, she'll still be seen as another lion, as a threat to the existence of the prides that live here. So the Nkuhumas or the sticks have to come across her. I'm pretty sure she would have the wrath of both of them to have to deal with, and it's going to be very, very difficult for her if that is the case. Now, she seems to be going down towards the Mulawati. I'm going to try and catch up with her and just see if we can keep her from the bank, but she will go down, and if she carries on, it's going to be okay. It's just this little section of the Mulawati that is really very poor for our reception. It's not long, but hopefully she'll kind of drop down and then head a little bit further towards the sort of southern side. She's kind of looking down into the drainage. Interestingly enough, this is quite close to where we last had tracks of Hosana, so I wonder if she smelt him somewhere here, because she's changed direction completely. She walked straight south down the road, and all of a sudden she just kind of veered off very, very quickly. So we'll try and see where she's going. I wonder if maybe we're going to see another leopard-lion interaction. Can you imagine if we get two in one drive? That would be absolutely ridiculous. Although I think Hosana might have the edge in this case, because I think he might actually be physically in better shape than what this lioness is. Now, I'm hoping that the gremlins stay away while we go down. Whether or not they do is anyone's guess at this stage. Now, I hear an Impala alarm calling. Whether it's seen that lioness or not, I'm not quite sure. The Impalas are alarm calling here. Yeah, I think it's seen that lioness because it's running from the bank, so it must have seen this little lioness from up top here. I don't see where the lioness is. The Impala was calling just on the top of the bank. What's this here? Now, these are tracks from what looks like... Just trying to see whose tracks these are, because there's tracks here. It looks like there might have been a leopard here as well, because there's tracks going up to the bush and scent mark. You can see them walking in the vehicle tracks here, and I think it was Brent drove here this morning, was in this area, and so it's quite interesting if there are tracks on top of vehicle tracks. Now, theoretically, she should have come down right here. I don't know where she's gone. Oh, there she is. I can see her in front. But I'm interested to know which tracks these are. Looks like a leopard. It doesn't look like lions that are here. I wonder, it's going the opposite direction and away from us. Her tracks are the ones that are going south at the moment. I don't know, maybe she picked up the scent of something, but it's definitely her track, right? And there's other tracks that were going up on the left-hand side, so who knows? Anyway, while I follow her through this patch and send you across. We're still following our lioness, who unfortunately has just disturbed a whole bunch of impalas that just scattered in every direction. She went sniffing around in the Mulawati for a long time, and I thought maybe she had found herself something, because she went in under a bush, and then she decided to kind of emerge from there back, and is now going towards Twin Dams at the moment. So what I'm going to try to do is just let her get past this junction, and then I think I'll get past her. You can hear some of the impalas on my right-hand side at the moment shouting. Let's try and get round that, because I wonder if she's going to go and drink at Twin Dams. Seems as though she's done a tour of the dams today. She's done a lot of kind of walking at Chelapan. She's come down towards sort of Twin Dams. She was at Gowrie Dam. She must have gone past Simamili Dam at some point today. So done a bit of dam hopping. Maybe that's how she's trying to find her pride, is just by going towards water points. Maybe she knows that if she stays at water points, then she gets to kind of catch up with them. That's the idea I'm having anyway. But let's see where she goes from here. I'm pretty sure she's going to cross south into Little Gowrie. I don't think she's going to stay on our side. There's nothing really for her in this area, so I'm pretty sure she's going to try and hang on this side. Now, I wonder if she's going to use this pathway. Let's have a look. It's coming straight down towards me at the moment. Is she? Yes, she is. So she's going to change onto the pathway, which is what I thought she might do. Now, I just want to see which pathway she takes from there, if she goes right or left. She's coming left. All right, so let me just go back a little bit, because I'm on her pathway at the moment. So I just want to go back, let her come past. I thought she might use the one behind me, but she seems as though she's going to use this one. There we go. Let's just leave ourselves there and give her a bit of space to be able to walk. But you see, almost like a leopard in that she curls her tail up as if to say, I'm not hunting you, leave me alone, stop shouting at me. And lots of bite marks around that tail area. Shame, girl, you've really had a tough one. It's amazing what these animals can endure. And even at a young age like this, the fact that she's been able to go through that and survive all of those cuts and scrapes and markings that she's got on her is pretty insane already. Are you squeaking? Sounds like she's kind of contact calling a little bit. So all that snorting around us is just impalas in every single direction that we've got at the moment, which means that she's being shouted at from everywhere. There's back from that side, this side behind me. So it's not easy if you're a little lioness being shouted at. I think she's going to go down maybe for some water. So let's just try and get ourselves into a nice spot to be able to watch her drink. I think we'll follow her pretty much there. It's going to be the easiest way to go with her. Looks like she's going to head perfectly for a little water, which is good news. Okay, impalas, settle down. I don't think this lioness is going to be hunting at all, so that's why she's probably not too worried about the impalas. So what I want to try and do is get Craig and myself into a place where we can kind of just sit, and hopefully this lioness will just kind of come down and actually drink from edges of the water point, and we'll have a situation where we can see her drinking quite nicely. So somewhere here, Craig. But let's try. But theoretically, it should be quite nice over there. So if she does drink, it'll be quite nice. We'll get a nice little reflection, I think. We'll just have to see how it goes. You can hear guinea fowls are alarm calling. Everybody's shouting at her. Shame. Her approach to this waterhole has definitely not been an incognito one. But no, I don't think she's going to drink. I think she's going to walk right past this dam by the looks of things. Or are you going to sit down there, girl? I'm not surprised. It's been a long day already for you. You've walked quite far already. She's just watching the impalas, and I'm sure she would love one of those impalas to be dead already, that she could be able to go and feed off it. But instead, she's going to get shouted at. There's going to be guinea fowls, there's going to be impalas all over the place, and that's going to be things a little tough for her. Anyway, we'll see what she does and see what she gets up to. While we do that, let's send you back to Kuchava, who I'm sure is still looking all over for where those sticks are. Well, Brent, I wish you good luck, and I hope that your patience game ends in reward. Our lioness is up and moving again. She didn't stay down for long. In fact, she actually sort of jumped up and went trotting up the bank and kind of looked towards the Mulawati, and now she's sort of gone stationary again. So I don't know what she heard or what she thought she heard, but definitely something piqued her interest. There's impalas everywhere here that she's kind of watching, and none of them are really going to fall for the trap because they've all heard the other's alarm call, and so they'll know that there's something around. But you can see it by her tail that she's still quite interested in what's going on and is watching a lot of what's happening in this area. Now let's see if she's going to lie down. So Crazy Legs, this lioness is probably, I would say, difficult to say, but in terms of where the sticks are, I don't actually know 100% sure where the sticks are, but I think they're on Chitwa somewhere. So from where we are to Chitwa, driving time is not more than 5 minutes. Oh, okay. And sleep time it is. So about 5 minutes away from where Chitwa starts, but I would say from the sticks, maybe as the crow flies, maybe 3 kilometers, so close to 2 miles away. And Kuhumas are a little further. They probably are closer towards about 4 or 5 miles away. And then where her actual pride is and where her pride hangs around, that's probably from here, a straight line, about 9-10 miles from where we are. So she's got a bit of walking to do to get back towards where the pride is. But the sticks are probably the closest, but they're preoccupied now. And if they're on the eastern side of Chitwa, which they could very well be, then in all likelihood she's a little further. She might be about equidistant between the Nkuhumas and the sticks. Either way, though, if they start roaring, she'll be able to hear it and probably go the other way. She'll know not to head towards them. You can see a brave Franklin that's running around there, that this poor lioness's tail is kind of belying its attitude towards that Natal Franklin, as the Natal Franklin is chirping away. So the lioness's tail is kind of showing that she's paying attention, even though she's kind of lying down and sleeping. So she's just flopped down. I think she's going to try and have a bit of a rest here, and I suppose she's deserved it. She's walked a long way and moved quite a bit. So Nina, she's vulnerable in general. Out in the open or in the thickets, she's very vulnerable at the moment, being on her own like this and the age that she is. But yes, out in the open is obviously going to be much easier, and especially because being out in the open attracts the attention of multiple other animals. So things like impalas that are alarm calling at her, alarm calls attract the attention of dominant male leopards, of hyenas, of other lions, and so she needs to be careful walking around and causing too much of a commotion, because the more shouting there is, the more you might find something like a clan of hyenas arriving here, and they see this lioness and they might go after her. So she is, I suppose, a little bit more at risk in the open than she would be in a thicket, but either way, she's very vulnerable at the moment. It's going to be a tough couple of months for her unless she can find her pride. If she can join back with her pride, she should be okay, except that the Birminghams are going to probably still put more pressure. If it was them that caused the separation, they're going to try and pressurize this lioness even more, and eventually they'll probably chase her out completely or kill her. So it's going to be a tough time. If she was with some siblings, maybe it would be better, or one of the lionesses split off and took their siblings away, which is what has happened with the Tsalalas in the past, then maybe. But for now, I think this lioness is going to have a really tough time of it and really struggle with being able to kind of survive in this area. It's such a predator-rich environment, and there's so many males. You've got the Avoca males, the Birmingham males, and you've got all these other prides around here. I think a young lioness like this has got a really tough time on her hands. Also, coupled with that, a lot of hyenas in this area as well. So she's really going to have a tough time to stay alive. I don't know how good her chances are unless she can, like I say, find the pride again, and her mom can get her out of danger and raise her in an area where she feels that she'll be safer. But I would like to know exactly how she got separated. I don't know if there is anyone. I did ask the guys, but nobody's come back to me yet as to exactly how the separation happened and who was the one responsible for all of those bite marks. Shame. A little bit of tatty feet as well, and you can see a couple of bite marks there. Shame. Well, she's going to sleep, and we're going to probably just sit with her. We'll try and move a bit so we can get a better view than what we've got now. While we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor, who I think is still... Well, Like I said, I don't know if she's lazy today. She certainly has moved a lot and she's earned her sleep, and so I wouldn't call her lazy in any way. She's just taking a break from what's been a probably rather relentless day, that's for sure. And I'm sure she's had a really long day moving around, and probably a long few weeks since wherever she's come from, and whatever has happened. It's an interesting situation to have her here. I don't know how it's going to go and where she's going to end up. I can guarantee that she's not going to be on Djuma in the morning. In fact, I think that at some point this afternoon she'll probably get up. We know that she was sleeping a little bit earlier, so I'm pretty sure it's a situation where she's going to rest for a little bit now, and then as it starts to get cooler, even though it's gone down 1 degree and Brent says it's feeling cooler, I certainly don't know if I agree with that. It's still quite muggy out here, but hopefully once it gets a little cooler, she'll move around. But at the moment, sleep time. Karen, you're asking how close she would need to be before hearing her pride? Well, I think it depends on whether her pride is roaring or contact calling or anything like that. But, you know, a lot of the time, if you look at things, the Nkuhumas, they very seldom actually roar very much at all. It's normally what happens is the female that's lost an offspring will go off contact calling a lot, and she'd have to be then fairly close. I would say probably within maybe 2-mile radius if it's just contact calling, if maybe even a little less depending on terrain. If she full-blooded calls, well, then we know that they can hear in optimal conditions from quite a lot further than that, closer to sort of 4 miles. So be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know, it would also require the other pride, or her pride, trying to find her and trying to call out for her to come to wherever she may be. But like I say, don't know. I mean, we're going on the Tsalala name, but because of what we've been told by a lot of the others, but I'm not 100% sure if it even is a Tsalala lioness, but it could be. That's like I say, from what we've been told that she's a lioness from Tsalala. I've heard that from the guys in the Western Sabi Sands and in the North and in the Central. But like I say, I might be wrong completely. We think it's a Tsalala lioness, but there's also Manganes, there's the Mangane breakaways, there's all kinds of different lions around, and maybe she's one of them that's come out of that area. But as far as I know, like I say, from what was sent around to the rangers and what came back as the ID was the Tsalala girl. But who knows? I don't know the Tsalala makeup very well either, which means it's interesting as to whether it could be her. I just remember something about the Tsalalas. I know that there was a young male involved, and the only other female that I remember now that I kind of think back on it was the one that was much older than this individual and has already mated a few times. So I don't know, maybe it is, like I say, maybe there was another lioness that had cubs that we didn't see, because the Tsalalas split into different ways in different directions, and it was actually quite tough to kind of follow what was going on with the Tsalalas for quite some time, when they were broken apart into the tailless female and then the others off on their own mission. So I'm not really 100% sure on the others. We used to see the tailless female and the sub-adults quite a lot, so that was the 3 sub-adult boys and then the sub-adult female that now I'm sure is already mating. So I think it's maybe from the other one, and like I said, it could be from that Tsalala Pride. But if it is them, then she's moved a long way, and it'll be interesting to see where she goes. Of course, she could be from a completely different pride as well, and we might just be mis-IDing it. It wouldn't be the first time that these things happen at all. Right. Now, while I sit here and see where this lioness goes and whether or not she's actually going to get up and move around, let's send you back across to Taylor McCurdy and see what her plans are for the rest of the morning now that she's left Kuchava. Now, I'm not sure what Taylor is on about in Hot on Heels and drama continuing, but let's see how she goes and what she's going to pull out there. It seems as if Taylor's had the most epic afternoon and a bit of craziness all over the place, and hopefully, like I said, that little cub is okay from Kuchava. I'm sure it will be. Our lioness, unfortunately, is still as sleepy can be. I suppose if she does wake up, we're not going to have her for very long, so rather we can get to spend some time with her now than her kind of just disappearing over our boundary, which you can see very, very pink nose that is quite wide at the sort of bridge, and so I wonder if anybody can try and ID her from the spots on her nose. Maybe somebody can come up with something and just clarify exactly what's going on. But like I say, I mean, from what I've heard from everybody else that has seen her over the last few days, so apparently she is a Tsalala lioness. Now, I wonder if she will try and hunt for herself. I know that she apparently grabbed a terrapin, but I wonder if she would go after anything larger, like scrub hares, or maybe she's going after things like duiker, steenbok. She won't be as fleet-footed as a leopard would be, and definitely probably doesn't camouflage as well and hasn't been taught to hunt like that. So I'm interested to see kind of how she goes about it and how she ends up doing her business as she kind of tries to find the pride again, because she's going to have to feed at some point, otherwise she's just going to lose condition more and more and more. And I suppose maybe that's what's been happening, is maybe she started out in really good condition and she's just kind of losing as it goes. But if she keeps heading south, and she is from the Tsalala Pride, then she is heading in the right direction. She'll then be going down towards their area, which is where they are. The interesting thing for me is that she's walked a very funny route. So she was seen a few days ago sitting around the Londolozi boundary. Then she went up towards a place called Big Dam, which is on Arathusa Private. She then went up towards EP, past Simbambili, was heading towards a place called Pickaninny, Utah, which is on the northwestern side of Simbambili. And then she turned and has come all the way to Djuma, come straight down Vuyatela access to the dam, and now south down Tundam. So she's done this massive loop around. And what that indicates, I don't know. Maybe it's an area that she has walked before. If that is the case, then she's not a Tsalala individual, because then she must have done it. And we know that the Tsalalas haven't walked that route in a very, very long time, or not at least up to northern Simbambili. Right, now I'm going to kind of sit a little bit longer. I think we'll try and go and check the dam, see if there's anything coming down and having a drink and maybe some birds. While we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor McCurdy, who has got some rather large pachyderm friends. Indeed we do, Taylor. So we have the second of your big five, which is a lonely lioness that is a little on the skinny side and is having a tough time of it. A very young lioness that is unfortunately somehow separated from her pride and is having tough times trying to find the pride again and trying to find food in order to survive. It's not easy out here, and so she'll be just surviving off small things until she can actually get back to the pride, because she's still too young to actually hunt for herself, which is pretty insane. Now, as Taylor mentioned a little bit earlier, my name is Tristan, and on camera I've got Craig. And remember that this is live and interactive, so we do want to hear from all of you. So remember to tell your teacher any questions you've got and ask lots and lots and lots as we go. Now, I was saying that this lioness is kind of very skinny and is having a tough time. She's moved a lot today, and she's kind of come down towards this waterhole where she's going to probably sit and hope that animals come down to drink. When she first arrived, there were lots of impalas here. Now, impalas are like our deer, and they were hanging around this waterhole and in this area. They all shouted at her, so maybe she's just waiting for them all to disappear, and hopefully new impalas will come along and she'll be able to hunt them from there. Now, Bevan, you want to know how long lions sleep for? Well, a lion can sleep for quite some time when it wants to. They are animals that use a lot of energy very, very quickly when they're hunting, and so it's important for them to rest for long periods in between hunting situations. And so she'll rest for as much as 20 hours in a 24-hour period. It's a very long time. Generally, you don't see it happening all that often. Most of the time, lions are sleeping a little bit less than that, and you'll find that they sleep in bouts, so they don't sleep just 20 hours straight. They will try and kind of move around as well. Now, Melian, you want to know what would happen if I went and kind of poked that lion and woke it up while it was sleeping. Well, I can tell you right now that if I were to do that, in all likelihood, either the lion will run away before I even get anywhere near there, which is the most likely scenarios, that I will not get anywhere near that lioness. But let's say hypothetically I could get very close and I could poke the lion while it was sleeping. It would probably turn around and it would go into what's called fight or flight syndrome. So you have a 50% chance of that lion probably running, and a 50% chance of that lion turning around and absolutely maiming and goring you and eating you in every way imaginable, and you will not get out of it at all. Now, because this is a young lioness, it will probably run away, but an older, fully grown female, if you had to touch it, in all honesty, I think you would not live to tell that tale at all. You'd be probably torn apart very, very quickly. As lions, well, they've got teeth and claws that are designed to shred meat, and us humans are very soft. We have soft skin and soft bodies. We don't have claws, teeth, or horns, and so, it would be very difficult for us to fight back in any way whatsoever. Right, now, our lioness has just rolled over and is continuing her nap, so while she does that, let's send you across to somebody who, well, will never let you nap because of how loud he is, and that's Brent Leo Smith, and he wants to say hello. Well, Taylor, for you guys, there seems to be a lot happening. For us, our lioness has really not moved a single muscle since the last time you saw us, and it's really sleepy at the moment. So, Jeremy, lions will hunt. It's dependent. They're opportunistic animals, which means that they will hunt anytime they get a chance to. If there's something that comes along that they want to try eat, they'll go after it. But in sort of general, we find that lions will normally eat about every 3 days, 3 to 4 days. But they can sometimes go every single day. Sometimes they can even catch more than one animal in a single day. So it's very difficult to say how often lions eat. It just depends on conditions, how they go, and whether or not they can actually find the food that they need. And if they are feeding well, then sometimes it's, like I say, it'll be every day, every 2 days. We had a drought about 2 years ago, and during that period, the lions were killing pretty much more than one buffalo a day, and they were eating just the best parts and then moving off and getting another one. So it's quite interesting. It just depends on time of the year, and each pride will have different success rates. But if we had to average it out on lions in general, it would be about every 3 days that they kind of find food in some form. Rouge, this lion, it's difficult to say exactly how old it is because we don't know this lion very well. She's not from this area. She just arrived here today. But we think that she's around about 15 months. 15, 16 months is roughly where I would guess. So just over a year old, which is still very young. She should theoretically still be with her pride and should still be where her mom is. And so hopefully she'll find a way to get back towards that area and find where her mom is so she can be looked after. Mostly lions will stay with their mothers as dependent on the mom up until they're around 3.5 years old. So she's still got a bit of a way to go until she's okay. It's difficult also to age her because, there's a lot of factors that change on lions. And so normally what you'd use is the color of her nose, the size of her body. And so her nose is still very pink, which indicates generally that they're a little bit younger. You do get pink-nosed lions that are older, but it's a rough thing that you can use. And the size of her body indicates an animal that is about a year and a half, somewhere there. So still got a lot of growing to do. She's still going to get bigger, and you can see lots of scars on her at the moment from where she's been bitten by a number of different animals. Now, and you're asking if lions travel in packs. So we don't call them packs, we call it prides that they travel in. And they do move around in prides, yes. So what you will find is that the females and their cubs form prides, whereas the males will form a coalition if they are in groups together. Sometimes they'll be on their own, but most of the time in this area they form a coalition, which could be 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 6 male lions that walk around together. But females and their cubs, they form prides and they'll kind of move around together. What sometimes happens, though, is that you get a situation where either hyenas or male lions have attacked a pride and they've split them, and then that's when you get a situation like this where a lioness is on her own and moving around trying to find her pride. Or it could be a situation where a lioness maybe tries to go and have cubs. This lioness is too young to have cubs, but if they go and have cubs, then sometimes they can be on their own as well. So it just depends on kind of age and whether they are able to sort of move off on their own. Now, Richard, you were wondering if this lion was pregnant. So no, she's still too young to have cubs. She would generally only have cubs at around 4 years old. So she's got about 2.5 to 3 years to go until she would have cubs, which is a long way for her. So she's still a little bit small for that. And you find if she was pregnant, you would know straight away. She gets a big round tummy, and it becomes quite easy to tell that she's got little cubs around. And even if she was pregnant, I'd be very surprised to see her this side, because they generally will try and den somewhere close to where the pride is. Berman, different types of cats will generally hunt each other. And then when hunt is probably not the right word, is that they will chase each other. And the reason for that is competition, not only for food, but also safety. So in the terms of the scales, lions typically are on top and they chase everybody. You'll find that leopard can try and go after young lions, so little lion cubs. Hyenas will also go after lion cubs, but when the lion is fully grown, there's very little that will chase them. But in terms of leopards, lions can chase leopards and kill them. Lions will chase cheetah, they'll chase wild dogs, they'll chase hyenas, jackals, and so all of the other predators have to be scared of lions, and then each one can kind of go after each other's offspring. But for the most part, you'll find that they try and avoid each other as much as possible. They don't actually go looking to find a lion for food or for food. They'll have a situation where they'd much rather eat an antelope or a buffalo or something like that and leave the rest, to themselves, because at the end of the day, going after a leopard or anything like that is sometimes dangerous. They've got claws and teeth themselves, and they could inflict an injury. And it's trying to kind of stay away from them as much as possible. And the only reason lions chase leopards is more out of a safety for their cubs and those kind of things, and also because they often can rob a leopard for food. And same with wild dogs and hyenas. If they find them eating something, they can run in and take that food from them. So it just depends on how big you are, but the bigger you are, the more of the predator able to dominate and to chase around and shift off. And I think our lioness is going to have a long nap. She's moved throughout the day, and so still not moving around at all. I don't think she's really going to be doing too much. I think she's going to sit tight and just sleep it out until it gets very dark. I was hoping for a second that there was going to be an elephant coming this way, because we did see an elephant just now moving in this direction, but it just didn't pop out from behind the bush. And so while we see if maybe that Ellie does come, let's send you back across to Taylor, who had lots and lots of things going on, and I wonder what's happening now.